Dear learners, welcome to the third video lecture of the first module, Understanding Human Growth and Development. In the earlier videos, we have discussed about the basic concept of growth and development and their relationships. We have also thrown light on the different principles of development. I hope those videos are helpful for you to have clear understanding about two key aspects of human life that are growth and development. After grasping the ideas about these two concepts, growth and development, it is now essential for you to know how this growth and development take place in an organism or in an individual throughout their lifespan. You must be able to understand that development is a continuous process which continues from womb to term. That means it continues throughout the lifespan of an individual. Now the question arises among you is, what is called lifespan? This video is all about to answer this question. Here we will discuss in detail about the process of lifespan and its various stages. This particular MOOC is concentrated on early childhood stage, which is a key stage of one's lifespan. But before discussing about early childhood stage or period, we must be clear about its preceding stages as well as succeeding stages. As such, this video lecture will be helpful for you to familiar with the concept of lifespan and help you to comprehend the different stages of lifespan. So let's start with the concept of lifespan. So we all know that human life is full of variety of experiences and explorations. Life of human being starts with the conception in the womb of the mother. It's a transitional process. Throughout life, an individual exhibits typical behavioral characteristics in all the dimensions of behavior and his or her personality. Lifespan is the ongoing process that we go through while growing up. It is the period of time between the birth and the death of an organism. Lifespan development refers to the full process of human development from conception to death. The concept of lifespan implies that there is an individual whose existence has a definite beginning and end. It is a holistic approach to understand all of the physiological, cognitive, emotional, and social senses that people go through. Lifespan simply means the average duration of an existence of an individual in a particular environment or under specified circumstances. Lifespan development refers simply to the pattern of change that begins at conception and continues throughout one's life cycle. So simply it's the life cycle of an individual. Lifespan development can be defined as the methodical intra-individual change associated with progressive corresponding to age. The development process as well as progresses in a manner implicating the level of functioning is lifespan. We can say that the concept of lifespan development in man or in woman refers to the continuous process of growth and change that occurs throughout one's life. It is grounded in the broader framework of lifespan development psychology, which emphasizes the development is lifelong process influenced by biological, psychological, as well as social factors. There are so many definitions of lifespan, but we have quoted or we have to discuss one definition given by Baldis. He said, lifespan developmental psychology is the field of psychology that involves the examination of both consistency and sense in human behavior across the entire lifespan. That is from the time of conception to death. So all the definitions, all the discussion or the study is confined to the basic frame that lifespan is the simple life cycle of an individual. It includes issues such as the extent to which development occurs through the gradual accumulation of knowledge versus stages like development or the extent to which children are born with innate mental structure versus learning through experiences. There are some principles that are governed by lifespan development. The first principle is lifelong process. Development does not stop at a certain age or but continues from conception to death, that we have already discussed in the earlier videos. It encompasses various stages like childhood, adolescence, adulthood and old age that we will discuss in detail in the later part of this video. So as such, the lifespan development follows the principle of continuity. It is a process of lifelong. Then it is multidimensional. It involves physical, cognitive, emotional and social dimension, each contributing to overall development. It is multidirectional also. That means growth and decline occur simultaneously in different aspects of life. For instance, while physical abilities might decline in later adulthood, emotional stability and wisdom often increases. Then there is another principle of lifespan development, that is plasticity or flexibility. Development is flexible and it can be modified with experiences, education and environmental influences. Then development has also historical and cultural context. That means lifespan is influenced by these two aspects. There are societal norms, historical events, and cultural expectations that shape an individual's development. So these are the key principles of lifespan development. Then there are some factors that influences lifespan development. What are they? The first is biological factor. The biological factor includes the genetic, physical health, and aging process. Then there are some environmental factors also, that are the family, education, the school, the career, and socioeconomic statuses. Then there are some psychological factors that influence lifespan development. Those are relationship status, status quo, self-esteem, and coping mechanisms. Then there are some other cultural and societal influences also. These are gender roles, societal expectation, and cultural values. We know that development is the product of heredity and environment. As such, environment is the most crucial factor that influences the lifespan development. So all these gender role, cultural values come under the environmental factor, and the genetic factor, then the health and aging, all this come under the hereditary factor. So basically we can say that lifespan development is basically and primarily influenced by heredity and environment. Now come to the most important part of this discussion, is stages of lifespan. So human development periods span the lifespan from conception to the end of life. Across lifespan, people develop in stages. When we examine the sequence of change over the entire lifespan, we find broad patterns in different phases of life. These stages are broad patterns of development characterized by some dominant feature. In each stage of development, a person shows typical capabilities, traits, pattern of behavior, and characteristics, modes of functioning. So each period has certain important tasks to accomplish by the individual, and depending on the success or completion of the tasks, the movement to the next stage of development takes place. That's why it is very important for you to know the stages of lifespan. Various theories attempt to define how the movement from one level or one stage to the next level of development occurs. Educators, psychologists have pointed at different ways of describing stages of development in the lifespan of individual. Psychologists vary in their view and opinion regarding the classification of human stages. Some justify it as 5 stages, whereas others want to categorize lifespan as 9 or 7 stages, and so on, based on their own views. We can discuss some of the important classification of lifespan given by some of the prominent psychologists of the world. The first one is given by Rousseau. So Rousseau classified lifespan of an individual into 4 categories. These are infancy, childhood, pre-adolescence, and adolescence. So according to him, the first 5 years, 1 year to 5 years, is considered as the infancy stage. Next, it is a childhood, which is aging between 5 to 12 years. Then, from 12 to 15 years, this period is considered as pre-adolescence according to Rousseau. After this pre-adolescence, the particular individual comes to the adolescence period, which starts from 15 to 20 years. So it is the earliest effort of Rousseau for making the developmental stages. Then we have E.H. Erikson's stages of human development. He had defined and classified human development or stages into 8 stages. The first is infancy, which is considered from the period of birth to 1.5 years. Then the second period is considered as toddler age or stage. He defined that the baby or the infant who is of 1.5 years old to 3 years is considered as toddler period. Then after that, it is the preschooler age as defined by Erikson. So the period is from 3 to 6 years. Then it is followed by school age, which is of the period between 6 to 12 years. Then he has classified human development into adolescence, ranging from the age of 12 to 20 years. Then in the next 6 stages of early adulthood period, which ranges from 20 to 45 years. Then it is the middle adulthood, which is from 45 to 65 years, and the last one is considered as the later adulthood, which is from 65 years onwards. So these are the 8 stages as classified by Erikson. He classified these categories on the basis of his psychosocial-developmental theory. Then we have the classification of Shelley. He had classified human life development of lifespan into 3 categories, simply 3 categories. First one is infancy, second is childhood, and third is adolescence. So according to him, the first 5 periods from 1 year to 5 years is considered as the infancy period. Second, 5 to 12 years is considered as childhood period, and from 12 to 18 years is called adolescence period. Then we have James Ross classification. So James Ross had classified human lifespan or development into 5 stages. Those 5 stages are infancy, early childhood, later childhood, adolescence, and adulthood. So according to him, from birth to 3 years, this period is called as infancy period. Early childhood ranges from 3 to 6 years, later childhood ranges from 6 to 12 years. Then the period of adolescence ranges from 12 to 18 years, and 18 years onward is considered as the adulthood stage. Then another most important classification was given by Jean Piaget. So Jean Piaget was a Swiss educator and psychologist. On account of his biological background, traced the initiation of human cognitive development. He was the first person who have given emphasis on cognitive development and classified human life from his perspective. So he classified the human intellectual development into 4 developmental stages. First is called as sensory motor stage. The period of this stage is from birth to 2 years. Then the second period of Jean Piaget's developmental cycle is called as pre-operational stage, which ranges from 2 years to 7 years. Then the third one is concrete operational stage, which ranges from 7 to 11 years. Then the last one is called formal operational stage, and the period ranges from 12 to 15 years. This is the most important classification of human development by Jean Piaget. Then we have another classification by Ernest. He classified human development into 4 categories or 4 stages, like other stages. Like the first is infancy, second is late childhood, third is adolescence, and last one is he called it as maturity stage. So the period ranges from 1 to 5 years is for infancy, 6 to 12 is for late childhood, 12 to 18 for adolescence, and the maturity stage is from 18 years onwards. So we can realize from this classification that there exist differences of views and opinion regarding the stages of lifespan. Yet we could also find some similarities to an extent in terms of the terminologies used for the stages, like infancy, childhood, adolescence. So psychologists have classified human development on the basis of different developmental dimensions and characteristics. There are certain common developmental or practical characteristics belonging to each stages. The human organism shows peculiar quantitative as well as qualitative changes in his or her body and behavior, with the help of which we can say that at what particular age an individual belongs to which definite stage of his life. The process of development involves the interaction of biological, cognitive as well as social emotional process. But for our better understanding and convenient discussion of lifespan of individual, we can classify our lifespan into some important stages which we can discuss in this video. We can classify human life into 8 important stages, and this classification is based on the opinion and the views of different psychologists as well as educators. The first is considered as prenatal period, which is the time from conception to the birth. Then second stage is neonatal period. This is the time from birth to 10 to 14 days. Then babyhood period. It is the period from 2 weeks to 2 years. Then the early childhood period, which is considered from 2 years to 6 years. Late childhood period, 6 years to 12 to 13 years. Then adolescence, which is from 12 years to 18 years. Adulthood, which is considered from 18 years to 60 years. And the last one is old age or aging from 60 years till death. So there may be variation in these stages, but for our easy reference and understanding, we can discuss life cycle or life span throughout these stages. So first, prenatal period. Let's discuss it in detail. So the title or the terminology is prenatal. That means the pre-part. So prenatal stage refers to the period of development before birth. It is a period that ranges from the time of conception to birth. The period approximately lasts for about 280 days. It may vary from person to person, baby to baby. During this period, development is extremely rapid. It is mainly physiological and consists of the growth of all the bodily structure. Prenatal development is of interest of psychologists investigating the concept of early physiological development. This is the period during which individual develops from a single cell to a fully developed organism. The development from conception till birth of a baby constitute the prenatal stage. Although babies are not born exactly after 280 days of conception, biologically it takes about 266 days from conception for a fetus to become ready for birth process. Actual birth of normal baby may take place at any time after the date. The prenatal development of human is viewed in three separate stages. It's very important for you to know what are the three sub-stages of prenatal period. First one is germinal stage. The range of this period is conception to 2 weeks, only 2 weeks. This stage begins at the fertilization when the sperm and the egg form a zygote. The zygote undergoes rapid cell division and travels down the fallopian tube to the uterus, which is called implantation. This period is also called as implantation period because implantation in the uterine wall occurs where the placenta begins to form. So this is the very important and crucial period of human life. The second substage is called embryonic stage. The range of this period is 3 weeks to 8 weeks. This stage is critical for development as the foundation of all major organs and structure are formed. The neutral tube, future brain and spinal cord develops and the heart starts to beat. External features like limbs, facial structure of the baby begins to take shape during this period. Then the third period is called as fetal stage. It ranges from week 9 to the time of birth. So this is the period before birth. The fetus undergoes significant and numerous growth and maturation during this stage. Organs become fully functional and movement like kicking start to occur. And the baby can also move inside the mother's womb. By the end of this period, the fetus is prepared for life outside the womb. So, nutrition and care during this period for the mother is very much important for a healthy baby. The second stage of the lifespan of an individual is neonatal period, which is from the time of birth to 10 to 14 days. This is the period of the newborn or the neonate. That is why it is called as neonatal period. During this period, an infant tries to adjust to a totally new environment outside the mother's body. Because earlier to that, he or she was dependent on his or her mother. But after birth, the baby has to make adjustment with the outside world or the outer environment. At this stage, the organism goes through a sensory motor development through contact with the external world or environment. The third important period is called babyhood. It ranges from 2 weeks to 2 years. Babyhood stage is also termed as infancy period. From birth until the child begins to speak or talk, they are referred to as infant. The word infant is derived from the Latin word infans, which means unable to speak. It's very important for you to remind because the person is called babyhood is considered to remain in the babyhood period until he or she is able to speak. So when the human child learns to walk, the term toddler is used. When he learns to walk, the term toddler is used. The period from 2 weeks to 2 years constitute the infancy stage of life. Babyhood period marks the transition from a purely reflective function organism to a psychological organism. At the first time, babies are completely helpless, and during the first 6 weeks, he or she spends most of the time sleeping. When he is awake, however, he engages himself in active interaction with the environment. This interaction serves to stimulate the psychological and social development in the infant. Gradually, the infant learns to control his or her muscles so that he can become increasingly self-dependent and self-reliant. Babyhood is the period in which the child or the baby gains control over his bodily movement and he learns to speak. Then the next period is very important. That is the main focus of this MOOC course. That is the early childhood period, which ranges from 2 years to 6 years. It may vary from person to person or from concept to concept. The early childhood is also known as preschool period. Broadly, it covers the period from 2 to 6 years. This is the time during which the children become mobile, means he can move. He is able to widen the sphere his or her activities beyond the caregiver and the family. Through interaction with the wider society and the environment, the child learns the rules of appropriate social behavior and develops mental abilities which prepare him or her for formal schooling. So, early childhood can be considered as a stage which prepares the child for the formal schooling. Children start using short sentences and learns to explore and control his or her surroundings. The child increases instantly, asks questions, makes friends with his or her peer groups. Hence, this is also called as pre-gang period. So this MOOC course is all about this early childhood stage. So in the later module and videos, you will be able to know more about this period, how the children grow, learn and play in this period. Then come to the next period, that is the late childhood period. It ranges from 6 years to 12 to 13 years. This is the formal schooling age. During this period, children go through the transition from the world at home to that of school and peers. Children learn to make things, use tools and acquire the skill to be a worker and a potential provider. Children receive feedback from outside about their accomplishment. The major development in this stage is building up friendship and socialization. They make friends and they are become socialized. During this stage, growth becomes more gradual and rate of the physical change becomes slower until puberty at about 12-13 years, when there is again a rapid growth spurt. Becomes slower until puberty at about 12 to 13 years. Then we have adolescence period, the most important period or stage of human life. It ranges from 12 years to 18 years. This is the transitional period from childhood to adulthood. It is the period from the onset of puberty till attainment of adulthood. It is very important to know that the word adolescence has been derived from Latin word adolescere, which means to grow or to grow to maturity. As such, the essence of the word adolescence is growth, and it is in the sense that it represents the period of intensive growth, change in nearby all aspects of individual development. Puberty makes the beginning of sexual maturity and reproductive capacity of an individual. As such, with the occurrence of sexual maturity, adolescence begins. This is the period of more rapid physiological upheaval, especially sexual maturation. In the later adolescence period, there is an increased heterosexual interest and concern for personal appearances and desire to make a good impression on others. The peer group has greater influence in this period than the home and their desire for independence. During this period, the individual becomes ready for adulthood and family life. This period is known for the formation of personal and social identity and discovery of moral purpose. Unlike the childhood, adolescence is the stage in which intelligence exists in logical form of demonstration. Then we have adulthood period, which ranges from 18 to 60 years. This is the stage of complete maturity. Identity versus role confusion is coming to an end in this period. The individual learns how to form intimate relationship both in friendship and love. The latter part of adulthood, which is often termed as middle adulthood, refers to the period between age 40 to 60. During this period, the middle-aged experience a conflict between generosity and stagnation. The last stage is called old age or aging, which ranges from 61 years till death. The period of life from 60 till death is the period of old age. Nowadays, with increasing life expectancy and longer work period, there is a delayed onset of the actual feeling of old age. During this period, proper people experience a conflict between integrity versus despair. It denotes to the feeling of sense of accomplishment of or failure when they reflect their life. So there are wide individual variations in the way old people prepare to face death and other challenges associated with the age. Changes in recreational activities in old age are due to change in health and mental status. So to conclude this lecture, we can say that development of individual take place throughout these mentioned stages of life. Development is a continuous process. It starts from the prenatal period and continues till the death of an individual. Each stage is unique in its developmental traits and sequence. Individual differences too common in each stages of development. So I hope this video lecture is helpful for you to understand about the concept of lifespan and you have understand what are the key stages of lifespan of an individual. Thank you very much.